This is Matt Brown, and you're listening to Just a Good Conversation. Beautiful work is being made all around us. Sometimes we just don't see it. My boss passed along a photo story done by Amanda Pitts at Grand Valley State University in Michigan. She worked on a fantastic photo story on Ben Moon, who battled and survived cancer. I loved the story, her photos were fantastic, and I knew I had to have her on the podcast to talk about her and her work.
I got a job right out of college working for a local photographer, portrait and weddings. And I traveled all over the state with him, mostly as his assistant. And then I was a digital artist for him too. So I did a lot of retouching. I was like retouching like maniac. And there came a point where I would look at people in real life and see their flaws and see like, a pimple or something. And in my mind, I was photoshopping it. And yes. And so at that point, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do this forever,
I'm Matt Brown, host of Just a Good Conversation. Take a listen to our archives. My guests have ranged from Emmy winners, professional athletes, writers, and commercial photographer Jessica Richardson.
So my dad would call up our elementary school, swing by and grab us. And then we'd head out to the tug and got to hang out on the tug while he's trying to in storms, while he's trying to lash ropes, and we're playing with all the mics and stuff. And it was pretty cool. A few years later, after the company was purchased, they changed all the restrictions and they changed all the, all the red tape stuff to say that's not safe. And they quickly didn't allow minors to be on board without a secondary adult that was not a captain in charge, basically. So we didn't get to go on the tugs as much after that.
The rest of my conversation with Jessica can be found on our archives at justagoodconversation.com. Let's take a quick break for a sponsor before diving into my conversation with Amanda Pitts. Maine Farmhouse Brands was started by Dan McCool, a healthcare professional. His goal was to make premium soap. Most people may not realize how important the right soap is for their health and the difference between soap and detergent. Soap is made from natural ingredients like animal and plant fats, whereas detergent is made from synthetic, often harsh chemicals, even fossil fuels like petroleum. Maine Farmhouse Brands makes their own soap with natural ingredients, free from harsh chemicals. So if you want to keep your skin healthy and clean, I would recommend using Maine Farmhouse Brand soap instead of detergent. You can find their body wash, shave soaps, laundry soap, and beard oils, and more at mainfarmhousebrands.com. I am extremely fortunate. I have got what I believe are the hardest working photographers in the business, university photographers. And I've got Amanda from, is it Grand Valley State University?
Valley State.
Yeah. Yep. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I love both of us work at schools that don't give our location.
It's so true.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot too. Yeah. Why is the state not in the name?
Right. Yeah. I'm at Cal State Dominguez Hills, which can be anywhere if you didn't know Cal. Right. That kind of gives away. But you got Grand Valley State and then university. So that's even more confusing.
Yeah. Yeah. We like to be confusing.
What's your school colors?
Laker blue, because we are the Grand Valley Lakers.
Okay.
And then the accents are like black and white. So it's very simple. And, that blue color looks great on everybody. So
that's what I was going to say. At least you got some decent school colors. If you've got some swag, you're not wearing these god awful tones on you.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that matters to a lady. You got to have good colors. You don't want to look bad in, screaming yellow or orange.
Yes, I love the blue. I have a lot of blue clothes. Most of the people on our campus have a lot of blue clothes. Yeah, makes it easier to, get those good marketing photos with our colors in them. So
I'm so fortunate that my boss had seen the story that we'll dive into at some point and sent it to me, and then I found you. It was like, wow, because there's so many universities. I don't even know what our total is across the country, but that was an interesting way to find you. And so how did you find photography that starts, the spark of this career? When did you fall in love with it and find it?
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, I had a little camera. I would take silly pictures of my brother and cousins.
What did you have? Do you remember what it was?
Oh no, it was just a tiny little thing.
Olympus, Minolta, plastic,
It wasn't
metal?
even that. It was like a little, plastic. You put the little, what was it, like the 110 cartridge in or whatever,
Yes. That's a spy camera. Little 110.
Yeah. So yeah, that was just kind of fun. And then I think the first time I really was interested in a picture that I took, if that makes sense, was we went on a vacation to Yellowstone when I was a teenager, and I took a picture of a waterfall and a rainbow and, all the pretty things you see in a landscape photo. And that pretty much had me hooked. But I didn't do a whole lot with it until I think I was a senior in high school, and we didn't have photography in my school, but we had a really great dual enrollment program.
Okay.
So I dual enrolled at KVCC, which is Kalamazoo Valley Community College, and they had a really great just intro to photography. So I got to play around, and at that time, working in the dark room and stuff like that, that's magical,
Yes, you had dark room experience.
Yep, I did.
A lot of love happens in the dark room when you see that print come up. I mean, that could warm your heart forever, and then you're just in love.
Yep, exactly. And so as a senior in high school, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I was thinking either photography or psychology, or I don't remember what the other one was, anthropology maybe. And so I found Grand Valley because it had all three majors. So I was like, then I can decide once I'm there. So I did that. I went to Grand Valley, and
did you have a teacher or a mentor in high school that kind of helped you kind of shape photography for you, or were you just
a
one-lady band just winging it?
Yeah, I just was checking it out, I didn't take that path that a lot of people take where they do yearbook photography and stuff like that. I don't even know if we had that at our school. I don't remember. But I definitely went a little different route than a lot of people start. But yeah, so then I went through the system at Grand Valley, and I had some great professors there. And
so now you had your three choices. What steers you to photography and not, what'd you say, anthropology?
Yes. So I'm actually not super great at making big decisions. And so that's why I went to a place that had all the things. And I did explore. Grand Valley is a really great liberal arts college. So you don't just take, what your major is. So I did kind of dabble in some things. I took a lot of anthropology classes and minored in sociology, which I feel I think a lot of photographers are kind of interested in those things anyway, because it's, studying people.
Right.
And that's what we do with our cameras, is we study people with our cameras. So I couldn't let it go all the way. I had to do photography major, little sociology minor there. But I don't remember I don't know how I made the decision, but I'm pretty sure I had made the decision by the time I got to the end of that first year.
And were you still using that same camera, or had you gotten better gear, or you just still?
Yeah. When I started that class in high school, someone lent me a camera, an old school. I don't remember what it was. I think it was an Olympus or Minolta. So I just borrowed it during that time frame.
With a 50 or something?
Maybe. See, I don't remember the details. I'm so not a tech gearhead person.
Okay.
Man, I love gear, but I don't remember. But yeah, it was, I don't remember what it was, but I only used it for that time period. And then when I went to school, my parents bought me, the bottom of the line Canon Rebel kit. That was like my graduation present, I think.
Thanks,
And
mom
that's
and
what I
dad.
use.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
something.
Yep. Yep.
When
So
did you start to understand gear and be like, oh, the difference of, and oh, I should really get and try off camera flash? And when did that start to evolve for you?
I think so. I went to school during the interesting time when we were transitioning to digital.
Okay.
So most of my classes were film, and then we had a couple where we could do digital if we wanted. And then, so once I went digital, I kind of was like, I'm done with film, and kind of dove right into that. So it was during that time frame I really started paying attention to the gear more, because the school had some, I don't remember what it was, some Canon, whatever, 10.
Right.
I could look it
D10,
up.
five, yeah, five, yeah.
Yeah, the 10D maybe, like
Yeah.
the first,
Goofy numbers, but yes.
Yeah, yeah. So they had those, and I could tell that that was better than like the Rebels that, were at the bottom of the line. And then I really was kind of more interested in gear after that. I just have a terrible memory, so I don't remember all the cameras I've shot. But yeah, I was very much I was a Canon user when I was younger. And
were there courses along the way that you would take, whether it was like a photo portrait class, or I don't know if you had a commercial class, that really then, kept cranking up the fire on you to be like, okay, yeah, there's no way I'm going into sociology. I'm all in on photography.
I don't know. I was really into the digital stuff, but also we had a 4x5 class where so we borrowed a 4x5 camera for the semester, and you had like a partner and you shared back and forth. And I think that, I don't know, because I don't shoot 4x5 now, but
Right.
for some reason that solidified the whole process, from exposure to the end product. So that was really interesting. And I had a great professor who taught that. So that was kind of like the most technical part to me, that. And then we also had a studio lighting class. And the professor was also very technical. So I, in turn, started out as a very technical photographer. But those classes were probably my favorite, those ones that were quite challenging. I don't know. I just enjoyed them, and working with other students too. We would do group projects in those classes sometimes.
Are those professors still there?
One of them is, okay. Yes. Tony Thompson.
Okay.
So, yep, he's still there. And he was probably the most influential professor for me. Just, I don't know. I'm not sure why. He just,
but there was something, a spark that, whatever he said, you just kind of cling to.
And he's kind of technical as well. And he gave us like hard tests and stuff about like exposure and just all kinds of things. He kind of taught us some marketing, some business sort of, things, and
right. Things that you wouldn't get otherwise.
Right. And he had worked in a studio during his career before becoming a professor. So he had a lot of, studio kind of experience. So
having a professor like that can get you in the right direction is very helpful, because the last thing you want to do is be in college and you're just flailing, trying to figure it out. You want someone to give you some structure and boundaries, and like, technically this is what you got to learn, and then from there you can be creative. But if you don't know how the technical stuff, you're going to be all over the place. So it's good you had that with Tony. Shout out professor there.
Yep.
When did the light switch for you that you wanted to then go in the field you're in now, and you didn't want to do like a studio job or become a newspaper photographer or a war correspondent? Like where did that for you happen?
Our program was not, it was in the School of Communications. Okay. So it was kind of communications, kind of fine art also. the professors all had different experience. So I didn't really know anything about newspaper photography. I never desired to go in that direction,
Okay.
but I did. So while I was at Grand Valley, I think as a senior, maybe, I started working in a portrait studio, and I learned a lot from that photographer. And I thought that I wanted to be a portrait photographer and do portraits and weddings and all that kind of stuff.
What were you learning? What was he exposing you to?
Yeah, he was letting me come into the studio when he was photographing the seniors. Just kind of, talking me through a little bit of what he was doing with lighting. He taught me a lot of the early like Photoshop techniques and cropping for portraits and stuff like that. I asked him to take me on some of his outdoor sessions, and he let me do that and kind of talked me through simple, natural light that works every time kind of thing. So yeah, that's what I did in his office, and I did a lot of the editing there too. But then it was that time frame where a lot of the traditional portrait photographers were kind of like,
on their way out
of the business. Yes. So he ended up, I don't know if he eventually shut down his studio, but I left. But that kind of like sparked something. I was like, ooh, this is kind of fun doing the portraits and everything. And then I got a job right out of college working for a local photographer, portrait and weddings. And I traveled all over the state with him, mostly as his assistant. And then I was a digital artist for him too. So I did a lot of retouching. I was like retouching like maniac. And there came a point where I would look at people in real life and see their flaws and see like, a pimple or something. And in my mind, I was photoshopping it. And yes. And so at that point, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do this forever, But yeah, towards the end, I started shooting weddings for him. And then I was just exploring a lot with different photographers at that time, doing some second shooting for weddings and stuff like that, just trying to see how everybody does things. I kind of had my own business on the side at the same time. And I realized after a couple bridezillas that I was not cut out for that.
Yeah. God love them, but brides can be crazy.
Oh my gosh, for real. And I was totally not expecting it with some of them at all. So it was like came out of nowhere.
Were you a good bride? Oh, that's a good face.
So yeah, I don't know, because I'm very like I like to be have things be predictable, and the wedding day doesn't go that way. But it's funny because it was that during that same time frame when I was working for that wedding photographer, he was my wedding photographer, so he already knew me and everything. But my pastor at the time said, because I had everything all mapped out, he said that this is the only wedding that he's ever had start early.
Early?
Yeah.
Wow. That might be the first in the history of marriage.
It could be. Yes. So I don't know. If I had to do it again, I might do it differently. Maybe not have every second scheduled like that.
Right.
But that's part of my personality a little bit.
Oh, Amanda.
Take it or leave it.
Amanda, that's great. Yes, but, doing weddings is a skill, and it's underappreciated because you have to do a lot of stuff. First of all, you better be a damn good people person because you're dealing with a bride that's losing her mind, a groom that just wants to get the hell out of there, two different kinds of mother-in-laws. You got the crazy drunk uncle you got to go try to find, right? You got, you got, and God forbid you could do different kinds of what you could have a Jewish wedding, a Muslim wedding, a Catholic, a Christian, Lutheran, Southern Baptist. You got different kind of wedding styles. And then what they want, the expectations have changed totally from even 20 years ago, 10 years ago. You know, it used to be all about the book, and now it's just about, you know, can you get me photos instantly so I can get it on social media? So that doing weddings, especially digital, can really give you a lot of great skills. You're doing macro photography, you're doing portraits, they're doing lit, your documentary work. Like there's a lot of skills in a wedding if you're good at it.
Yes. Yeah. If you're a good wedding photographer, you can do pretty much anything.
Yeah. How many weddings have you done?
Not that many. I mean, probably under 10. Like I was not in it for very long.
Would you do one now?
I don't know. It'd have to be someone pretty special.
Right.
That's really funny though, because my student that works with me just yesterday asked me if I would shoot her wedding when she gets married. She's not engaged, but she wants to know if I'll do it. And I was like,
she's booking the wedding photographer before she's engaged.
Yes. I love her. I might do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like a lot of pressure, you know?
She's got promise. She's already getting things lined up. She needs the man, but you know, because you know, I think you're 15 years into your career now? Pretty good, right? I mean, do you think
at Grand Valley, 15
you think
years.
your skills today would be better to do a wedding today than they were 15 years ago? You think you're a sharper tool? You got more experience?
Yes, in some ways. In some ways, no. I think being young and naive has its own benefits.
It does.
Yes, it definitely does. But I've always been a planner, so I was very much like, okay, we're going to go through the contract, and this is how your day is going to go, and like, you know, do that thing with them.
Right.
But it seems like weddings now maybe aren't like that anymore. At least the wedding photography, it's very unstructured. So in that way, I don't know that I would do great because I wouldn't know where to be, you know. But my photography skills are different though too. So I never was really a photojournalist, but I've shot enough events and all kinds of things like that at the university that I think I have stronger skills in that area now. So maybe we'll see when my student gets married, we'll see how that goes.
What was then your path after the weddings? What were you thinking? Where were you thinking career wise?
I really wasn't sure. I was working in that portrait studio for probably a year and a half after college.
Okay.
And I did gain a lot more skills there. Customer service. I did customer service too, along with the retouching and, you know, the weddings and whatnot. So I was thinking I could do that, but also I don't know. I had a fear of going out on my own and doing the only your business,
right.
You know, freelance business. Because I do like stability. So I had a friend, Courtney, and she was working at Grand Valley, and I knew she and I were pretty close then. And so she'd come over and talk to me about her job. And then she decided to, you know, take an opportunity in Germany. And so she moved, and they kind of changed the role. And I had, you know, been in and out of that office a little bit when I was a student, and I had already interviewed there for a different position. And so I really wanted that job that was open, you know. So I did apply there. And since I had already interviewed for, you know, a previous position, the interview was amazing. It was like a conversation. It wasn't even an interview. And I'm just like, yeah, like I really want to do this. I didn't know what I was in for, you know, at that point.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't exactly know. I mean, talking with my friend Courtney, she told me, you know, quite a bit of what she did when she was there. But you never know till you're, you know, really in it, you know?
Right.
And
she can only give you like the fine stuff, the minutia, the everyday grind. You really don't know until you're in it for like a calendar year.
Right. And I think that's kind of interesting about higher ed too, is that there is the predictability of usually, most colleges and universities, it's a stable job. It's a stable position. And it's cyclical. So, some of the same things are happening year to year. You kind of learn the process of how the year goes along.
Right.
But then also there are things that are thrown in there, here and there. And so it's not completely boring and monotonous over and over. And then you learn a lot when you work at a university. It's all about learning. You go photograph a classroom, you basically like take in a lecture while you're working, and then
Right.
it's fun because then you have weird conversation points next time you hang out with your friends, you're like, did you know this weird thing about...
You want to talk about tariffs? I know all kinds of stuff. It's like...
Maybe not that. I tend to avoid that kind.
So were you thrilled when you got the job?
Yeah, I was really excited. Yes, definitely. Yeah. And I know my boss at the time didn't want to see me go, but he gave me like a really awesome review, to get that job. And so it felt good because I knew he appreciated me. And then, me getting to go on to a new, more stable situation felt good.
Right.
And it was my alma mater, so
Right.
Why would I not want to go back?
Right, which is even weird. Like it's like you're not going anywhere. You're just kind of staying home.
Yeah, a little bit.
Was there any fear when you took the job of like, okay, this is a real job. There's expectations. They kind of know me because I'm an alum. Like, was that any kind of fear that you're working at your as an alumnus?
I really don't think so. I don't remember that being a thing. I don't think I thought of it like that either. But it was really fun because there were still some people there. Well, there are still people there from when I went to school, but like there were a couple of people down in the resource room, like where we would get equipment and stuff like that as photography students. So I would run into, people that I knew. And that made it feel a little bit more comfortable, I think, for me. Yeah, it was just good. It was like
What was the first couple of months like shooting wise? You got your feet underneath you. What was that like?
Yeah. I didn't shoot a whole lot when I first started. I was kind of observing. We've gone through so many different changes since then.
Oh, really? Has the job kind of changed that much?
My job has changed, and then also just the spaces that we've been in have changed.
Okay.
We didn't have a studio when I first started.
Oh.
So we were crammed into this tiny office suite, and I shared an office with the photography services manager at the time and then her student. So there were 3 of us in one office, plus equipment. There was equipment in the office too. And it was like a regular sized office. So it was kind of wild.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we didn't have a studio. So every time we had portraits, we had to go in and basically tear down a conference room and put up a studio, take portraits, tear it back down.
Oh, yeah. The work.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What was, okay, this is always big, right? For every university, commencement, graduation, it's our Super Bowl. It's the big thing of the year. What was your first commencement like? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
It was that during your drinking period?
Yes, definitely.
I just blacked out for 48 hours. Because that's big for us, right? Commencement. I mean, that's...
Oh, yes. Commencement is huge. It's huge.
It's the pageantry and everybody comes out and it's big and it's hoopla. And
yes. Yep. And it's changed a lot since I've been there too. We've grown, so we have more commencements than we used to. We have our commencements in an arena, the Van Andel Arena. Okay. It's where they have like hockey and stuff like that, concerts. So it's big. And when I first started, we did one in the winter and then 2, I believe, in the spring. And now we have 3 in the spring. So it's a lot. I know people have a lot more than that, but
sure,
it's huge. And yeah, it's a lot. It's many days of running and
How big
yeah.
is okay? So I saw that the school average attendance right now is around 24,000. What
Mhm.
was it when you first started 15 years ago? Was it a lot smaller, and has it gotten bigger? Or is it kind of the enrollment's kind of just stable?
You ask really hard questions.
Well, I just asked because
Um,
as you know, this you're a little arts little liberal arts school, but has it
yeah.
gotten exploded? Like some little schools have gotten bigger, and then some have contracted and gotten a lot smaller. So that's
Yeah.
always the fear of like your school enrollment, right? That's all everybody's challenge right now.
Right. Pretty much the entire time I've been there, including when I was a student, it's grown.
Okay,
We had a few years where it dipped during the pandemic when a lot of people were not
right. That's
going
to
to
be expected.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But right now we have, I believe it's record enrollment for freshmen at our
Wow.
college, which is, yeah, it's really great. So we've always kind of been in a growth um, pattern while I've been there, which is super fortunate.
Oh, that's good for you, right?
Mhm.
Faces, bodies. The campus is really pretty. It's a pretty
It
campus.
is.
You
It's
are a
beautiful.
lucky woman because,
Yeah.
there's nothing worse than like my campus isn't that pretty. It's getting better. It's not that pretty. You've got seasons, and I am
We do.
jealous. I am so jealous of you that you've got seasons because
Are
that,
you sure?
yes, right? Like, well, listen, you got, you got, you got fall, you got changing colors. Your trees
Yeah.
change color. You have
Yeah.
spring. You get a lot of snow?
Yeah.
Okay. So at least that's something
Yeah.
to play with.
So we get lake effect snow.
What
So
is
because
that?
we're by yeah, so
You're giving me lots of hard questions.
I yeah,
Is
so
this
like
the
if a
is this the learning with Amanda section of the podcast right
yes,
now?
yes it is. So we get regular snowstorms too, but
Okay.
then since we're so close to Lake Michigan, when the weather kind of crosses over the lake, it picks up moisture, and so we get that moisture dumped back on us as snow. So we get more snow than say the other side of the state that doesn't usually get the lake effect. So Detroit's fine. They're just getting the regular snowstorms, but we get both of them. So rethink the four seasons jealousy.
No,
Okay.
no, I'm totally jealous. I got nothing. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. We don't have one tree that changes color. I've even talked to the grounds guys
Oh.
and been like, hey, anything we can do here, please? And then,
Blast some cold air at a tree,
yeah,
please, and make it.
something. I'm going to bring my own flowers in if I have to. Like, it's just, plus, I'm in California. So they
Mhm.
are all about drought tolerant foliage and plants. Great. I'm all
Makes
for it.
sense.
Whatever. Let's save some
Mhm.
water. Except
Mhm.
those plants are butt ugly. They are so ugly to photograph. They're bland. They're short. They got no visual life to it. It's just ugh. I'll take your
You have to
snow.
just carry a plant around with you, and you just shoot through it, so there's some greenery.
Sweetheart, I have thought about it. Like I'm literally gonna take like a Hollywood backdrop around with me and just like wheel it around.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, I don't even
Yeah.
get clouds. I bet you got beautiful clouds.
Too many clouds a lot of times. They're very cloudy.
I'm looking
So
right
I think
now.
if we took your weather and my weather and like put it together, it'd be great.
If they dated for a while, they'd have great
Yes.
weather. Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
you've got water.
we do. Water is very nice.
Damn
Hmm.
it. You got a bell
Lots of
tower?
water.
Is that a bell tower? Or a clock
Yes.
tower?
Yep. Yeah, we have two. We have one on our
You've
main
got
Allendale
two?
campus. Yep. One on our main campus and one on our Grand Rapids campus.
Would you like
So,
to ship one out to Carson? We don't have a bell tower. I'd love a bell tower.
let me talk to people and see what
See
I
what you
can
can do. Oh, how was the first couple of years like? Were you feeling like, okay, this could be home for a long time? Or were you still kind of feeling your oats and maybe Amanda bolts to high greener pasture?
Um, I think it was I wasn't like totally in it forever when I first started. I
Okay.
very much, I mean, I wanted to be there for a while, but I just wasn't super inspired, I guess. But
Did,
I mean, I was learning all the time still, which is good. I didn't come in with like the best skills ever. I wasn't the best photographer in the whole world, and I knew that. And I think that that's really important as a young photographer. So I started looking for things to help me, help me learn a little bit more, get better at lighting, that kind of thing. And so eventually I did find UPAA, and that has been like a game changer for me, and has influenced my work in a lot of different ways. And that really, just the inspiration that I've gotten from that group has kept me wanting to stay in higher ed photography. So that made a huge difference to me.
wow. That should be the slogan for them. I mean, that's unbelievable that, yes, their resources, I mean, their visual stimulation that you can look at month to month is off the charts. But for a young photographer to find them and have them help you, that's big. That's really big.
Yeah. And it's not just even looking at the work of it. It's like when I first got involved and became a member, there's like the closed Facebook group. And so I asked for ideas on there because I really, sometimes I think I'm not super creative and I need a little like kick, to get started in something. So I asked some questions on there, and one of the photographers said, like, let's set up a meeting. And he called me and talked me through some thoughts I was having, ideas, and I ended up making like a really cool photo after that conversation. And so stuff like that it's just so valuable because I never would have met him otherwise,
Who was it?
So
You want
Mark
to say?
Philbrick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mark.
Yep, from BYU. So yeah, and everyone's just so nice and wants to share ideas. It's not competitive like I've heard some other, photography
right
things are.
Right. It's an unbelievable group of people. God love them. They're unbelievable. Now, you went and met your master's. You stuck at school and you got your master's.
Yes.
Now, what drove you to think I want to get my master's?
So I am in the communications office, and like a master's of communications was offered. And just being in that space, I knew about photography and I went through the School of Communications, but I didn't take that many like communications classes other than the core. So I kind of thought, well, if I go through this, I'm going to have a better knowledge base just in general of my office and the industry and whatnot. So I did that. And then also, little secret, if you work at Grand Valley, you get free tuition. So that was helpful.
As a girl.
I know, right? And as a young photographer, just, kind of starting out, I wouldn't have been able to afford that on my own. So it was great that was provided.
That's great on their part to help you keep being educated and learn and get better. They want the best people you could possibly have working there. So that's smart for them to do
definitely.
That. By the time you got that degree in 2011, are you thinking, okay, this could be the place I stay now? When did you finally decide, like, this is a long-term home?
I really don't know.
She's got a resume out. Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
Well,
no, I think I was in it then. Yeah.
What do you love about being the university photographer?
I mean, like some of the things I said before, the variety is just really good. It's really cool. You're going to find different stories all the time.
Are you good at that, finding stories?
No. So it's so funny because I thought I was okay at it. And then my colleague Kendra, we hired her, and she is a former photojournalist. And so she's amazing at it. And I'm like, oh man, okay, well. I'm learning how you're doing this, and I'm not doing it very well.
Okay, so what does she do? What's her thing? What's her little niche that makes her find that gem?
She's just always looking. She's always
Okay.
looking. She's Googling. She's, you know, on Facebook, looking for things. She talks to a lot of, people. And that's how I find stories too, is like once you form a relationship with like a professor or something, then they might come back to you and go, hey, remember when we talked about blah, blah, blah? I've got this great thing that's going to happen. So that's kind of how we do it, I guess.
Okay.
And she got to go on a really cool trip this spring, because so I love geology and I love geologists, right? So sometimes I might cover geology a little too much. And so I had worked with one of our professors, Peter Wampler, and he's a rock star. And so we had talked about like sending a photographer on trips in the future. So he contacted me I think in the winter maybe,
Okay.
and said, hey, we're going out west this spring. Would you want to go along? And I said, I'll see what we can do. I would love to, but I just went to Oregon. So Kendra went, and it was an amazing experience. But that all stems from, having a relationship with professors on campus. It's really important.
Where
And
out
I know
west? Where out west did they go?
they went to Utah. I know they ended at the Grand Canyon, I think.
Wow.
Our team did, not the trip, but yeah, they went to a bunch of different places. I think they were there for over a week.
Wow.
Yeah. It was really cool.
When you're as the university photographer and you have all the things that you're going through, you're trying to find stories, you got to make certain pictures for the university, you got to make assets for, enrollment and all the things. Oh, well, do you cover athletics or is that a separate?
No, we don't, which is actually, I find that fortunate because that would take a ton of time from what we currently do. Athletics is kind of their own beast, but we do go if there's some sort of story we want to cover. So I'm trying to think of things like the band. We've gone and covered like the band before, a halftime game, or if we're doing a story. Sometimes they'll have special events at football games, so we'll be there for that. The president likes to be, covered sometimes at events or homecoming or whatever. So we'll go in that capacity, but we're not usually focusing on the sport.
Right. Just the event and the people that are there.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Is there something you think as a university photographer still in like 15 years in, you're still working on, you want to get better at, other than maybe like digging out stories, but maybe do you want to get better at a portrait or landscapes, or is there some kind of like tool you're trying to put in your belt that maybe it's new, like time lapses or adding a slider? What are you trying to get better at? Because the best thing is having that palette, having that place to yourself to do those things. It's, you're very fortunate. We are when we have a place like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, there's always room to improve everywhere. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I guess I would say, this summer, so I fly the drone and stuff. We have a drone at Green Valley, and that's been one of my things over the past few years that I've been really interested in, trying to get different perspectives, especially since I've been there for 15 years. Like I've shot the same events over and over. So like, what different perspective can we show? So now that night drone photography is a thing, or is permissible, whatever, I decided that I wanted to do like some night photography and just kind of play around. So we contacted facilities and had them turn off the lights on campus, like in a certain area. And we just played around. We tried to light things with the drone. Didn't go well. I would do that differently if we were going to do it again. Okay. But yeah, we just played around lighting things with, different light sources, car headlights, stuff like that. So just different things,
That's
that
fun.
we haven't done before. Yeah, it was really fun. And there was a group of us out there, I think from about 10 to midnight, maybe 9:30 to midnight. And we just played around and supported each other's ideas and, yeah, that kind of thing. And then the other thing I'm trying to focus on is, and this is boring and not really super photography related, but just making our systems more, flow better.
That's a lot. That is very important. God love you, because
Yes.
people don't realize at the back end how much it can fail you.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. And like our dam system and stuff needs so much attention. And so it's those kind of boring things I'm trying to focus on more. And I have grown into like a more managerial role too, which I'm still growing into that. So that kind of stuff is like new to me.
What dam
So-
system are you using? What are you doing?
We're currently using Widen,
Okay.
but we're looking at other things. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, our video folks don't have a dam system. They don't use our dam system. So, I'm trying to introduce that idea kind of. So maybe finding one that supports both better, because Widen doesn't super support video well. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's important, because, you got to be able to keyword stuff and find things. You don't want to be digging for it and go, I think that was in 2018. I got to, what event were they at? You just want to type in a couple of words and boom, there you go.
Right. Yeah, we could do a whole podcast on keywording, but no one would listen to it because it's really boring.
Well, okay. Do you have a keyword list? Do you guys try to keep to at least something?
We started to do that, but we never fully implemented it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's something that we've talked about, using like Photo Mechanic and putting it in there. But we're just not very consistent at this point, which we need to be better about it.
Yeah. Once you get the dam system you want, then you can just be, bulletproof with the consistency. And then when there's a day you're no longer there, they'll look back and be like, that woman was brilliant. She's got us all dialed in, and we can find everything from, 2006, which is so long ago.
I know.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah, or they'll curse me because we did not get good at it.
Yeah.
And
I can't believe she used that keyword, son. Yeah. What is your day in the life like? What's a typical day for you as a university photographer?
Well, as you know, there are never 2 days alike. But yeah, I usually go into the office and check on email. Oh, so many emails, right? Am I right? So many emails. Slack, we do Slack. Just gotta check out Slack. Yeah, just check in with everybody. If there's anything coming up, I'm like the calendar person. So I'm looking at the calendar, making sure everything's covered. And then, yeah, if we have a shoot, I'll grab my bag and go out and shoot. We've been trying to hire student photographers so that, they help us, but we also help them, they learn a lot in our office. So if I have a shoot that I can take a student on with me, they help assist, or they, talk to the person if it's a portrait, while I'm setting up or whatever. So that can be part of it. Sometimes we work evenings, as you know.
Yeah.
There are always events going on, or all the commencements.
Are you a wild art hunter? Do you go looking for something interesting, silhouette, shadows, people? Do you do a lot of that? I know Steven does that at Tennessee. He's a big wild art hunter. When I had him on, he talked about that. He loves looking for an image.
Yeah. I don't do that a lot. I'm more of a planner. Like, I like to plan things out. And I used to do that more, but now that I do more administrative stuff, I don't get out as much.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah. But yeah, it's fun to go out every once in a while and look around, see what you can find.
Right. Tell me about, you mentioned the Oregon coast. Tell me about how the Ben Moon story was created and came about.
Okay. So it was a long time coming. It took years.
It sounds like a
But
Star
pretty
Wars
much,
scroll.
yes, definitely. It was that long. Um, but yeah, I had discovered Ben like quite some time ago on Instagram. And so I started following his Instagram. And then I saw that he wrote a book.
Okay.
And I bought the book like in audio form and listened to it. And I didn't know that he was a Grand Valley alum until I read the book. And
Wow.
yes, so it jumped out at me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's an alum of the university that I work at. So I started thinking about it and talking to people on campus and saying, would you support this? Would you help us get out there? All that kind of stuff. And at that time, it was no, 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 no. Like no one had any interest whatsoever, which was not, yeah.
Okay.
um, right. So a few years later, I tried again, and people were very interested this time.
Uh-huh.
So yeah. So we, put together a plan. Our creative director at the time, who's now our boss, he was really good about talking to the administration. And we made, lists of, excuse me, all the ways that this would be a benefit to the university, all the different departments that could use the assets when we were done.
Right.
And we planned out, we were going to take a videographer, a photographer, the creative director, and maybe a writer at the beginning.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that is what we ended up doing, which was great.
So four of you went on this excursion.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Which I think is, yeah. Yep.
That's big. That's very National Geographic of you, or Time Life. I mean, to have a university send four people out when they could have sent just you and said, hey, fly the drone, shoot some video, ask a couple of questions, and slap you on the back side and say, good luck, girl.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how we did a different one.
Oh, you're aware of that process.
Yeah. But yeah, and I don't shoot video. I don't have like a background in video. I could have, done some simple B-roll and an interview or whatever, but not to the scope that our video guys did, They set up a beautiful scene to do his main interview and stuff like that. So it really is, it's just important to have people who are doing what they do best, not doing what they do best and then also 15 other things at the same time, because you're not going to get the best of what they can do because their attention is everywhere. So I think that was really smart of our administration to approve that. And I think we've got like really great work out of it, partly because of that. So
tell me, how long were you there? Was it something where you thought it was going to be 3 days and it turned into a week, or were you hoping for longer? How long did you guys work with Ben?
So actual working days, it was about 2.5 days.
Okay.
I think we were hoping to be out there longer, but since there were four of us going, we had to make it make sense financially. And so, yeah, we did the 2.5 days. We did meet with him ahead of time. We did a Zoom meeting at one point, and just kind of went over basics, like what we thought we would want to do. But we were planning this in December. We were going to be out there in December. And as you know, the weather out there can be sort of unpredictable at that time.
Yes.
So we weren't sure we were going to get good weather. So we didn't plan out days before we got there because we just didn't know.
Right.
And so that was pretty much it as far as contact with Ben. We did like text back and forth a little bit. He's a texter. So yeah, we just
give a quick little, for people that are listening, the story of Ben. What made Ben so special that made you, go to Oregon? for him?
He just has a really interesting story. And I mean, we were able to go because he is a Grand Valley alum,
Right.
but he ended up, he was in like sports management or something along those lines. What is it called? When you like the people on the field, athletic training. That's what it was. Athletic training. I have a terrible memory. I've said this. It's true. Everyone who knows me knows. Terrible memory. So he went to school for that, and then he, had a couple jobs here and there. And then he got interested in photography and didn't get a big job that he had applied for in that field. And so he kind of went toward the photography route, lived in his van for a while. He did the whole like climbing, hanging out, in your van thing. And started sending his work to magazines and got picked up. And it's just kind of a cool story. He's like a self-made photographer. And then his story has a lot of kind of twists and turns, but he had like his dog that he loved and everyone knew, Denali. And then Ben got cancer. And so, that was like a real hardship for him, and his dog helped him through that. And I kind of relate to that a little bit because I had cancer about 5 years ago. So that is kind of like a connection. And so it's just inspiring to see how much he's done with all the, different ways his life has gone. And then he kind of got into filmmaking, and now that's like 50-ish% of what he does now. And he's won awards, and his work is just beautiful. It's just, you just really want to stare at it, just look at his work.
Was that some of the best work you've done? I mean, you talk about, you say you're some of the proudest work you've done.
Yeah, I'm really proud of the work that we did there, definitely. And it was a team effort. It was definitely not like me just doing it on my own. Ben was really involved in the process, which was amazing because he knows what he's doing. He's a pro through and through.
Right.
And he knows where to go and the good lighting. And so, I mean, we do too, but he knows the area. And he would help his fiance, Sophie. She's amazing. And she was, helping us out too. Our writer that went along, Brian, he kind of carried some gear, as did Sophie. And it was, I mean, they even lent us some of their gear, they're like, oh, you have a, whatever lens. And we're like, no. And like, oh, you should borrow ours. Because we were shooting all Sony, even though our videographers do not use Sony.
Okay.
They use Sony for this because Ben is a Sony shooter. And since I work with, the corporate partners at UPAA, I was able to connect with them and get some stuff donated, for our use while we were there.
Right.
So it was a whole interesting learning process while we were there also. And yeah, Ben is so cool. Like, he's just really chill. And it was so fun working with them. And after we'd shoot for a while, they know all the good places to go have lunch. So we'd go out to lunch and just kind of hang out. At one point, I think there were some big soccer games going on. I'm so not a sports person, but, we paused for a while to watch the soccer game at his house and stuff like that. So it was just really fun. It was a really fun experience. Okay. But so yeah, I'm really proud. Go ahead.
You said you're a planner.
Yes.
A big planner. So How much planning did you put into this creative process? Did you do a lot of research? Did you come in with predetermined ideas of what you wanted to take? What was your process in this?
Yeah. So like I said before, we talked with Ben a little bit, but very minimal ideas. But we met as a team a lot, the team that was going, even some of the people who didn't go on our creative team, we just talked about ideas ahead of time. And we came up with a few main points that we wanted to hit on. Of course, this time at Grand Valley, he was on the crew team here for quite a few years when they were big, like winning lots of things. So we had to hit on crew. We wanted to touch on his book, his cancer journey, just his journey in general with photography, videography, all that. So it was basically like we had these main points we kind of wanted to touch on, but there was so much that we struggled to come up with like a very, like we didn't have a storyboard or anything like that. It was kind of like, these are all the things that are really cool about Ben and his story. Let's try to, do that. So that's kind of what we had going into it. Oh, and he's a big surfer. So like we wanted to get some of the surfing stuff in there. So yeah, that's kind of what we did. And then once we got there, we basically texted him and we're like, okay, what do you want to do? And then we showed up at their house, and kind of talked through different things we wanted to do. And that was kind of the extent of the planning. And then we would kind of go with the flow the day of, talk about what would be best to do that day. And then we would just kind of do it. So it's a little different than I would do for some things, but with a big group like that too, it's just, you have to go with it. You have to go with the flow.
It looked like you said December, correct?
Yes.
The weather, you guys got great weather.
Yes.
You were lucky.
It was fantastic, and we knew it. We knew how lucky we were.
You got beautiful sunsets, cloud. The ocean looks phenomenal. I mean, you don't have a gray day with thunderous storms and just bland, no color. I mean, you guys got some great light. Great light. Wow.
We did. It was so, so good. And it's funny because a lot of us hadn't been out there before, and I didn't really want to go home, honestly. It was beautiful, and I think that helps too. That's really inspiring as well. When you're in a beautiful location and you're with cool people and you're all working together and it's flowing, like there's nothing better,
That's a lucky, satisfying moment as a photographer to have those.
Mm-hmm.
Where your subject's wonderful, the scene, the landscape, the surrounding minutia of your subject is great. The story's all coming about. Like, you just pray for those kind of assignments.
Mm-hmm.
Was it everything you expected and more, or did where was it on your gauge?
I think it's my favorite thing I've ever done at Grand Valley.
Okay.
It was really great. I don't know what else to say about it really, but it was amazing.
I could see you light up. I could see it did affect you.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it was really cool. And I think it meant a lot because I had been hoping to do this for a long time, and it took years, but we made it happen. And not only, I wanted to go there to take pictures and stuff, but my coworker Tony, like, he knocked it out of the park with the video, and that was just really fun to watch that. And we just worked so well together too. We were both shooting at the same time a lot of times, and it was, I don't know, like Ben talks about the flow state, and we kind of joked while we were there, like that was our flow state. We were all working together and it was flowing like so great.
What was the response when you came home and people started seeing the content?
They were blown away. Yeah. People were really excited.
Did you get the sense that people kind of looked at you and the department differently because you came back with such a home run?
I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think there was a bit of that. I also I entered some of the photos in, competitions and won some competitions with them. And I think sometimes in academia that,
right,
kind of elevates things.
Sure. People love awards.
I know, right? And
president can say something.
Yeah.
This is Amanda, my photographer. She's an award winner, right? Right. They do. They say that. They sit around in those meetings on Monday when you're not there and they go, oh, we won an award.
Yes, they do things like that.
They love it.
But yeah, I mean, more than the awards, it just was the satisfaction of us doing it and doing it
Right.
well.
I
That was
have a
really
feeling if you
rewarding
didn't
to us.
win one award, you
Mhm.
would have been happy with the story regardless.
Yes.
And
Yep.
that's the best story. It's not that it wins anything or, everybody walks by the office and says, that a girl, good job, great story. But in your
Yeah.
heart, it was achieved. You got a creative juices flowing on something like that, which they're rare. We love those things.
Yes. Yep. We do. And I think that I think it's opened the door for more opportunities going forward.
Oh,
Definitely.
yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Because they saw what we could do. I think that probably helped pave the way for the Water in the West shoot that was this past spring, that Kendra went on. Yeah, I think it's great that we could show them, our work is top notch, and it can be when we have the time and the space and the resources to really put all of ourselves into it.
Well, thank God you didn't drop the ball. Poor Kendra would have been stuck going nowhere. She would have cursed you.
She got to go to Dublin last summer, so it's
Oh,
okay. It's okay.
well, Kendra's fine. She was pissed drunk in Ireland. What the hell does she care?
Oh no, 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 no. She's a professional through and through.
Oh, sure. When you got done, you finished, you wrapped it up. Okay, so, because we touched about this on the back end with the dam and the metadata, how did you start putting the story together and making sure that it's going to be preserved for years and someone's going to find it? Because you can make this great widget, show it, but they might want to rehash this in 10 years or 5 years or whatnot. So what was your storage for Ben's story? Because it's such a big thing. It's a huge event. I'm sure you shot a ton of images and then the
Oh yeah.
the video.
Yeah. That's a really great question, because I don't think that we're there yet. I think
Okay.
that we still need to decide exactly what to do. We kind of kept the assets close at first, because we wanted to premiere the movie and we wanted to, put out our exposure story. So, it went out into our quarterly magazine too. So our printed magazine, Ben was on the cover. There were quite a few pages. I think he had like 4 pages inside of photography and story. And I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even ever edit all the photos. That's how many photos I took. I'm
Whoa.
like, what do you do with all those?
What was your number? What was your final number? Not that a big number means anything, because you could have shot 12 and they could have been brilliant, but what was your final number?
I'm not sure, in the thousands though,
Okay. Well,
but
4
they're
days
not all
with that
good.
kind of
I mean,
light.
come
Yeah.
on.
I mean, so 98% were perfect. There had to be a couple of them that were. I mean, you had great light, great subject, great story. So that just, your finger can't come off the shutter at that point. You're just, just
Mm-hmm.
having the time of your life.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of photographer, if someone says to you, what kind of photographer are you? What kind of photographer do you really kind of classify yourself as? Would you say like I'm a documentary photographer, I document the university, or do you kind of lean more towards events? Are you a people photographer? I like to do my portraits. Like where do you fall into that?
Well, as a university photographer, you have to do all that.
Yeah, you are a lot of a Swiss Army knife. You got to do a lot of
Yes.
things.
Yes. Yeah, that's what Joey Terrell called us when we were at one of our events with him. But yeah, I mean, in my non-university life, I would say that I'm very into like nature kind of photography. I I always loved a good landscape,
Okay.
I think I've grown into more documentary kind of stuff. I have learned a lot from Kendra in that area. Um, I don't really know, but I think with like Ben's story, that kind of brings together a lot of the things that that I love, it was out in nature and beautiful scenery, great light, great subject matter, and I think that's part of the magic, when you have all those different pieces of things that you like come together like that. I don't know. I do like some portraits. Sometimes I'm just not in the portrait headspace, but
okay. They're challenging. You gotta manipulate a subject to do kind of what you want. You gotta find their comfort zone. Portraits are one of the biggest challenges. You've got to be a part psychiatrist, to get them to do something. They're a lot of work. They're not the easiest thing at all. People think, oh God, you're just taking a picture of somebody. Yeah,
right.
But you want them to like it. What's the best photo you've ever taken? What's your right? I say, Amanda, could you send me a photo I like to hang in the office? What do you send me?
Probably the photo that most people would ask for their office is I shot a drone photo with on a foggy morning. Have you seen that? It's like, it's campus from above. The sun is rising. There's fog everywhere. You can see the clock tower. Like, it's just idyllic.
Well, of course you can see the clock tower. Damn it, you have one.
Yeah, I know. It is very beneficial to have for a photographer. You really should look into getting one.
Even if it's a miniature one, I'm getting one, damn it.
There you go. You could just hold it, and like pretend it's on your camera.
Yeah, just
do a little. Yeah. Make sure you send me some of those. I'd like to see them.
Okay. When did Carson get Big Ben? That's interesting.
Maybe one that's not so identifiable.
Yeah, maybe. I'll see what I can find. Is there a photo you wish you could do over again? One you missed that just, sticks in your craw? You're like, damn it. I wish I could have that back. I missed that moment at commencement or that silly little thing at an event.
As far as like events and stuff like that go, usually I dwell on it for like a day and then it's gone. I'm like, dang, I should have gotten that. If I had to redo something, I shot a photo, gosh, probably 10 years ago or almost 10 years ago. And it was underwater. And that's the one that people like in UPAA, they were like, oh my gosh, what's this? And it was a really cool photo, but I borrowed equipment that like wasn't the best equipment. So okay. I think like if I did it again now, I would be able to make it even better.
All right.
Yeah. I think as a photographer, you always are looking at your own work and going, oh, if I only would have done, this and this and this, it would have been perfect. So nothing's ever perfect to most photographers.
Yeah, it happens. We've always got the ones we just want a little tweak here, a little tweak there. You're fortunate you got seasons, so at least you can tweak with some colors and trees and snow and stuff. So it makes life easier. We've talked about UPAA. When did you first join? When was it like, oh God, you did say they helped you out, but that you knew like, okay, this is a staple in my life. I've got to be a part of it.
Yeah. I think I joined in 2012. The first symposium I went to was 2013.
Wow. You're an old timer.
Yeah.
When you were 8?
Yeah, definitely. I was 8. But yeah, it was, that first symposium, like I always say, your first symposium, you don't ever forget it. And it was just really cool being around all the photographers that I had been admiring their work for a year, online and stuff. And I really just got to pick different people's brains on things. But I think I might have been hooked even before that when I talked to Mark Philbrick on the phone. And that's really what led to that underwater photo that, made a big stink at the time. In that photo, my boss at the time, she liked to show that photo to everyone because it was so different. And so that was just like, that was like the photo of my career for the longest time, which is great and also very daunting because once you have a photo like that, then you're like, but am I ever going to do something that good again? Or can I really top that? You know, like those little insecurities kind of come out at that point. But I think I've done some pretty good work since then. I don't know, maybe.
Oh, I've looked, and yes, you have.
Thanks.
What? So you didn't just become like a member though. You've joined and actually been, like you said, you're dealing with the corporate side with the board. When did you decide like I'm going to be more than just kind of the outside fringe member, go to a couple of, events to like I'm going to be a part of this actual thing?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of commitment.
It is.
I mean,
It's a
you've
lot
got
of
work, you're a
commitment.
mother, you're a wife, you got a kid. I mean, it's not like, you're 20 with no responsibilities but a Netflix
Right.
account.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a lot of work. But I think everyone on the board really, really loves the association. And it's kind of like, I don't do a lot of volunteer work. I used to do volunteer work, but to me, this is kind of that now. We're not paid. We really don't have any super crazy benefits. So I kind of think of this as my volunteer time, the time that I'm giving to other people, to make their careers better, make their lives better.
Have you run into an Amanda, a young, up and coming university photographer and been like, oh, I see those little bright eyes. I was that.
I mean, a lot of our new members are very bright-eyed and excited about, what's going on. And the students that we have come through our office, we love having students work with us. And they're always really excited to do new things and figure out this whole university photographer thing. And we did have one of them go on and work with us as a staff member for a while. So that's really cool to kind of see them grow and change and become super successful in their careers. And I think that's something that UPAA is doing more right now too. Like we started student memberships a while ago, and we are growing exponentially with our student members right now. So that's another way we kind of, I don't know, we pay it forward. We're teaching these youngins the ropes of doing this. Yeah, I don't think I ever answered your question about when I started as a board member, but I think it's been like 7 years, maybe.
Wow.
I'm not good at math either.
That's a commitment. I mean, that's a serious commitment there. I think, and I think I said this before we hit record, but some of the best work is being made on the university campuses. Like you can go through, and I know you see them, those monthly clip contests. Stunning work. Absolutely. I mean, when you see those, when you're judging, do you go, oh my God, how did they do that? I got to try something. Because I see it and I'm just like, Jesus, I've been doing this for 35 years and that's original. That's pressing and pushing the envelope.
Yeah, I think that we are all inspired by the work that the other, university photographers are doing. Yeah, and I love to try to figure out how people did things too. You look in the eyeballs and look for the light and see, how things were lit, and yeah, just kind of pick it apart and figure it out. And the cool thing is, if you want to know more, you just like email the person or call them and they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the best part. There's really no secrets at UPPA. They'll let's talk. I'll tell you exactly how we did it.
Right.
Let's make your boss happy.
Yeah.
That's it. Where can people find your work?
Okay. We have an Instagram for the Grand Valley photo team.
Okay.
Which I don't run. Kendra runs it, so I'm going to look it up right now just to make sure that I have it right. But
Yeah,
we have
let's not
photos
send
on
everybody
there.
to the wrong place.
Right. But we have photos on there from me and Kendra and our current student Lauren.
Okay.
So there's always good work to look at there. It's GVSU photo team.
Okay.
And then my personal Instagram doesn't have a whole lot of my university work, but if people want to look at it, it's Amanda J. Pitts.
Like I'm looking at your guys' photo team Instagram, and it's got stuff that any magazine, I'm not even putting newspapers because I really think their life support, they're over. They're done. But any magazine would die to have some of this content. It is really, really well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that's, I will toot this horn if you guys got a horn. I think some of the best work is being done at the university level. I really do.
I think so too. And I think, as we talked about I think before you hit record again, a lot of people are coming from other industries, like the photojournalists or, just other photo areas that are kind of shrinking. So we're getting all that talent in the universities. Those photographers are coming to the universities, and yeah, it's great work. And I feel like it's been just getting better and better by the year.
Yeah. Like you said, as the industries are shrinking and people are finding these places and there's openings happening, you're getting, and I hate to say this and make people think that the past photographers weren't at that level, but you'd always want to hire up, right? Whoever replaces you and me, you want a better photographer. You don't want to hire somebody less. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what they're getting. I think the universities are getting better photographers, like you said, and it's showing in the work every day. And we have a place now to see the work. It used to be 20 years ago, you had to get the alumni magazine. And if you didn't get it, you didn't see the work. Right. Now, you could do galleries on the website. You got Instagram. You got all these social media platforms that, you can expose this work all the time. Mm-hmm. And we're doing that, which is fantastic.
We also have an exposure account. I don't know if do you use exposure at all?
No.
Let me look it up quick, because that is where we do more like long form stories. Mm-hmm. And we do them ourselves. Like it's us as photographers are putting in the photos that we choose, that we think are the best. Again, Kendra is amazing at putting together visuals like that. So she's got some really cool stories in there. Ben Moon's story I did as an exposure. Let me see. I think it's just Grand Valley State University. I can send you a link later if that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Grand Valley State University.exposure.co.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that Ben's doing well. You made a great story out of it, that you stuck it out at Grand Valley 15 years later. You didn't jettison 2 years in and bolt and want to take off and do something else, because I think Grand Valley's got themselves a gem. You're running a great little team. You're making great stuff. Now, you might have a clock tower missing in the next couple of weeks, and I have nothing to do with that.
I would be very impressed.
But I am so glad that, I found you and that I was able to just awe at your story and your work. It was so well done. I applaud you.
Thank you.
It was great stuff.
Thank you. It was so nice chatting with you and meeting you, and yeah.
And I will do whatever I have to do to see you in Utah? Is that what the next one is? Yeah.
Yep.
Who's
Utah.
hosting? What school? Yep. Do you know?
Kind of, they're all doing it together, but
okay.
UVU and BYU are kind of the main hosts. But yeah, all the Utah universities that have members, they came together recently to have a meeting, and yeah, it's really cool. It's going to be exciting.
Those guys at BYU, man, they got it going on. They're shady. I don't know what they're doing. They got 4-leaf clovers or something. Boy, those guys.
They're very talented. Yes.
They are. They're killing it over there. God love them.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that photo studio they got? The new one?
You know, I saw it before it was done because we were supposed to have our symposium there in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So we did our site visit. The board usually goes like 6 months to 8 months ahead of time
Right.
and checks it out. So we saw it under construction.
Yeah. They did a
Yeah.
video. You should check it out. I would give up somebody's right arm for it, for sure. Not mine, but somebody's, because it's
Yeah.
gorgeous. Holy moly.
They do like to say, though, I mean, they didn't have that studio for a long time.
didn't.
And before they had it, they didn't have a studio at all.
No. They talk
so
about
they were
it.
hauling their stuff everywhere.
Yeah, they were running and gunning and stealing spaces and doing what they did. So,
Yep.
but they've
Good
got it
equipment
now.
helps, but it doesn't make the photographer, right?
That's true. It does not. All right. Thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it. You've been a wonderful guest. I learned a lot. I can't thank you enough.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You're the best. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you for listening to my conversation with Amanda Pitts. If you enjoyed this episode, please click and hit the like button. Become a subscriber to the show. If you enjoyed this episode, click the like button. Become a subscriber to the podcast. And remember, you can follow the Just a Good Conversation podcast on Instagram. And you can find all of our past shows on the website at justagoodconversation.com. Thank you for listening.